Welcome to
Welcome,
AI Content.
everyone.
Yeah. I'm Ryan Haig. I'm with Integration Quest.
And I'm Shivani Marrero. I'm with Rush University Medical Center, and I'm a Salesforce certified instructor with Integration Quest.
So I'm leaving the QR code up just for a second. For those of you who are quick, you have about 10 seconds left to check it out. And we're going to have it up again. That's not the last time you're going to see it, but we want to moderate your content. So we are also both meetup leaders, and part of this global conference is inviting you to our meetups. And we just launched the Online Architects meetup, so I'm going to use this as a special plug for anybody to come. And I need architect talks, and I need attendees to come, and we're going to discuss MuleSoft architecture in this new online meetup. And I'm also the meetup leader of Oklahoma City meetup. You want to talk about your meetups, Shivani?
Sure. So I'm a MuleSoft ambassador, and I'm a meetup leader for one of the meetup leaders for the local New York City meetup group, as well as the online group for Women Who Mule. And we are excited to talk about AI with you guys today.
So we created a detector, a Mule application that uses various AI services we're about to show you to figure out if the input to our APIs is acceptable, if it meets our content guidelines for our enterprises. So there's a website you can go to and enter whatever you want. It is completely anonymous. There's no login. I'm not going to know who typed what, but I am recording your content so that we can use it to train our models. So please let us have it. Type in whatever you want into that box, and we're going to be able to tell if it's okay or if it's not okay, if it's toxic or not. So, what do we mean by toxic, Shivani?
Okay, so as Ryan explained, you're entering questionable content on the website and getting some responses back. I hope you guys all scanned that already. And now, as you're asking me, what is toxic and how does computer or the AI systems know how that content that you entered is toxic or not? So, to detect the toxic content using AI requires natural language processing, machine learning, and deep learning methods. So, the first step, like Ryan said, we collect data. So, data collection is the initial step to collect a large amount of labeled data. This data is typically consists of examples of both toxic and non-toxic content. And it's essential to have diverse representative samples to train a robust AI model. Now, once the data is collected, then classification comes in play, where text classification process automatically assigns predefined categories or the labels per the content of the data. And it is a fundamental task in natural language processing and machine learning. So once you have the labeled data, and it has the extracted features, the AI model can be trained to distinguish between toxic and non toxic content. So, we have various machine learning algorithms, as well as more advanced techniques like recurrent neural networks that are used to train AI models. Now, while models can automate the detection of toxic content, to a large extent, human oversight is essential. Especially when it's sensitive or high stakes applications, human moderators can review the flagged items or the contents and provide feedback to improve the model and handle the edge cases that AI may struggle to classify accurately. So that's the human in the loop. You have to have some human interaction. Okay, now, as the AI model is being trained, it's crucial to evaluate its performance using separate validation data. Metrics such as accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 scores are commonly used to assess how well the model can identify toxic content. Now, toxic content identifiers are subjective, right? I mean, they may have the same, they may not have the same um, across all companies. Like some companies, or even people, like, something I may think is toxic, you may not think so. So, you can have the giant tech companies, companies like a pre-trained moderation models to decide what is toxic or not for your company, or you can actually take those models and then customize them, make them, add train those models to see what are your company values, what are your values, and what are your opinions about toxic data. So that's like a customizing the AI model. Now there are large data sets available, so if you decide to create custom model for your company, you can start with those available data sets and then enhance them per your requirements. I think of it like this: teaching your AI model, it's like teaching your child. You teach, you evaluate, you refine it, you teach, evaluate over and over. You have to do this until you get it. I would not say perfect, but you learn from your mistakes and you get there. I mean, based on your evaluation results, the model may undergo like iterative improvements. And this process involves fine tuning your model parameters, adjusting feature selections, or exploring even different architectures. So I would say overall, detecting toxic content using AI involves like ton of data, algorithms, and ongoing refinements to create models capable of accuracy, identifying and mitigating harmful content across various platforms, applications. Hopefully
So
that answers the question.
is there a question? Yeah. So
No.
we're happy to have questions for sure. I haven't seen any yet. So fine tuning is your access to being able to iteratively improve the agreement between the models that you decide to adopt and your own enterprise's opinions. So, for example, if I call Shivani a muley, how many people? I don't know if you guys think that's a toxic thing to do or if you think that's okay. We are at a MuleSoft conference and she's wearing a shirt that says muley. Probably she's not going to get offended, right? Now, imagine that we're in a different context. Imagine Shivani is at a fashion show, up walking down the platform, and I'm in the audience, and I say, Shivani, you're a muley. Do you think she's going to be offended, or you think she might not like that? Maybe that's not a compliment, right? Because maybe you don't want to be one of these if you're at a fashion show, right? So context is important for determining if some content is actually going to be toxic or not, if it's going to be acceptable or not. So you need a way to get there. So we have these giant tech companies who had a bunch of people train their models with some sort of generic default definition of whether something's toxic or not, and they don't have the word muley in the context of a global MuleSoft conference already in their models, right? So how do you get to a custom model without spending months and months with an Excel spreadsheet labeling stuff toxic and non-toxic? You're going to have to start probably with a pre-trained model, but you don't stop there. You don't just say, well, you know what, Google, you tell my users what's toxic and what's not toxic. I trust you. I don't know how many of you do. I don't, right? So instead, you got to capture the judgments of the model in some kind of data store, and then you need to review what the model does and then correct it, like she said, with the young children. And that's the process of fine tuning. So you become the owner of a custom model. And eventually you have so much data that you don't need the pre-trained models anymore, and you just train your own custom models. So we need some technology that'll allow us to do so. Now, there's a lot of technology you can adopt to accomplish this goal. These are the easy ones. And like all cloud software, easy comes with a cost, right? And some of these have a higher cost than others. You can go with low cost. You can buy your own hardware. You can go to Hugging Face and download the Llama model and build your own custom models, right? But MuleSoft is about integration. So we decided to build a demo that you've been able to access on that little QR code that uses 5 example vendors that are fairly popular that have had this problem solved in different ways for a while, right? So I put the two at the top. The pre-trained models in OpenAI and Google seem pretty good to me. So this is an opinionated presentation. I think OpenAI did pretty well, you know, figuring out what's toxic and non-toxic. And you decide for yourself if you agree with me on that little app that you got to from the QR code. Go give it a try. See if you think OpenAI seems like it has a pretty good idea. Go try Google and then put in there that Ryan is a muley and see what it says, right?
Hey, Ryan, let's pull this up. Let's pull up our website. Let's show them.
Yeah, I've got it up right here. So we could put a few
Okay.
things. I put Isabella's comment in there that we were getting started at 10:55, and apparently that's not toxic, right? Apparently, right? I'm going to put Tony's comment in there. Low cost / no cost, low code / no code, and let's see what that says.
That's not.
Apparently, it's not toxic.
No. Can you put "you are a winner"? Can you put that one?
Max Mule is a winner.
Yeah, let's do that.
IBM is not so sure about Max. Right? Now, what if we call him a loser?
Let's make it interesting. Can you change winner to something else?
Let's make it a loser. Let's see what happens. All right, we're still there, right? Oh, no. That's toxic. You don't call Max a loser. Max is mad now. I got to bring out my old Max, my old Mad Max. So yeah, you guys can put these in for yourself. And what we are doing is we're capturing every time that you put in one of these comments, we're going to capture the answers that we get from 5 different models in a database. And we're building up a data set to make our own custom MuleSoft community content model for MuleSoft chat, which we could plug into meetups and stuff like that. And so when people chat in our meetups, we can flag content as content or not, right? And so we need a lot more content to determine if it's toxic or not. So if you didn't get the QR code at the beginning, it's the same QR code, and I'm giving you extra motivation to go give it a try. There's code there. Not only can you enter content, you can look on the left side menu and you can go to a GitHub repo that lets you run this yourself and see how to actually access all these APIs. So for the developers, and how many developers we got? Do we have any developers in here? I don't know. I'm looking in the chat. How many people say they're developers? Let's see. We got one. All right. So yeah, we got a couple developers here. Go give it a try and download the code. You might find that some of these APIs are easier than others to integrate with. And I'll let you make your own judgments by the complexity of the code. We have to give Patrick a shout out, Shivani. Patrick Bandersky, one of our other fellow ambassadors. He's the one who I used his code to access AWS. AWS is the problem child in this list. AWS is expensive and difficult to integrate with compared with all these other ones, but it works just fine. You know, IBM doesn't like Anil as a muley. So yeah,
So
that's
and then
go ahead.
Ryan, let's show like how one thing I want to also point out is you see those results, right? And how do we know those results are accurate? Like how did we do that green check mark versus red X? So we can look at our Anypoint platform logs and see how that comes up. So let's open up our Anypoint platform.
Let me get into it.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. It was this one.
I know we had multiple test orgs, so hopefully.
I have to remember my password to your org. All right. Thank you so much to the MuleSoft community leaders for helping us create this org for practicing this. So when you guys are typing stuff in, it's checking a whole bunch of AI models to see what it thinks of your input. So I don't know if I want to show anybody's input here.
Yeah, so okay, we normally don't show, but this is something I want to show here, that each time you're invoking those external APIs, you're getting those scores back and we're using those scores and the details to tell you if this is toxic or not. And this is what you can customize when you train your own model. You can define those.
Yeah, and each one of the vendors, so some of the pre-trained models have a lot more classifications than the custom models. We trained our custom model. You want to tell them about Surge? Because if you want to do this yourself and make a custom model, you may not want to use a pre-trained model. You might just want to start out with pre-labeled data. So a big part of our project was using Surge AI, who they have a bunch of labeled data that you can get from them. They have some free data. That's what we use, the 500 non-toxic data on their GitHub. And then if you want to, you can buy, let me see, GitHub Surge toxicity. They have a really cool toxicity data set that lets you train your own model with kind of a preset social media toxicity data set that's already been labeled for you. So you don't have to start out with a blank spreadsheet full of and type in a bunch of cuss words. Oh, this API is on, Shravan. I'm turning off AWS. So Shravan said in the chat, hey, keep this API on for a few days because it's fun to play with. It will mostly stay on, but we're going to shut off AWS unless you guys want to donate $1,300 to me to run it for a month. It's very expensive to run AWS, but the rest I can afford. Yeah, so AWS might disappear tomorrow, but the rest will stay on.
Jim, you're making me laugh.
Oh, wow. So what other questions you guys got?
Yes, any questions? Are we that good, Ryan? Nobody has any questions? What's
I would
going
just
on
love to
here?
see what the community does with this, right? So if you have a way to detect toxic content, I'd love to see what you would use it for, right? What would you plug it into? Oh, Isabella's got a great question. What about testing in other languages other than English? You're going to need a model that understands those languages. Now, OpenAI has trained their model with, I don't know, more languages than English, but yo no sé si español es en OpenAI. um, so I think it depends on which languages the models have been trained with. So that's a good case for custom models. Now, when I use the easiest custom model out of the list, if you guys want to try this yourself, the easiest custom model was definitely Cohere. So Cohere is part of some of these vendors like IBM, Google, and AWS, they have lots and lots of different AI services. Cohere is kind of a smaller AI company and it's low cost. It's great for community members. And you can train a custom model. Their documentation is really good. I think most of you could try it on a Friday night and be done before you go to bed, trying out a custom model on Cohere. So go ahead and give it some Spanish training data and give it a try. Their documentation is really good. I'm going to give Cohere a big plug here as the good community, easy to use, cheap option. What other questions did we get? I got a question from Edgar here. How about the cost overall? Talking about thousands of requests. They are definitely dependent on load. So I'm taking a little bit of a risk. Go ahead and load me up because I'm saving all your data. They each differ in their cost. OpenAI is the one that's not. OpenAI and Cohere are not going to be very much. OpenAI is more than Cohere, but they're both cheap enough for community members to try. IBM and Google Cloud have very confusing pricing. So far, I've only spent like $8 over like 3 months. I don't know after you guys start lighting this thing up how it's going to look. I'm just going to check tomorrow and see how much I spent on IBM and Google. So we're going to find out. I'm not waiting. AWS is not volume based. AWS is capacity based and it costs $40 a day. So it's getting turned off. So that's the cost answer. What else do we have in the questions?
Okay, another question. It says, how many changes in harsh language specification is enough to necessity retain a model? Okay, I would say you really have to have ton of data. I mean, Cohere let us do what, 10,000 lines of, that was like the smallest one we found, right? We were able to supply 10,000
1,000. Yeah,
lines.
only 1,000 lines. So if you put a few examples in, it learns pretty quick. These models are using deep learning neural nets that are designed for what they call few shot training. So and if you try ChatGPT, you can kind of get it to change its mind in a few tries. That's because of a feature of the way the neural nets are set up to value recent information more than old information. So some of the bigger models like OpenAI and Google are going to learn quickly from that. Cohere and IBM and AWS, you're right to say you're going to need a lot of volume because they're not using few shot learning, and you're going to have to make lots and lots of examples for those. Yeah. Yeah. What else do we have?
Thank you, Tony.
Anil's going to monetize an API to keep AWS running. It depends if you like the performance of AWS. Let's see. AWS is expensive. Let's see what that says. Oh, not toxic. Even AWS said. Oh, Jim's got a question. What do you think, Shivani? Jim's asking, where do we see this landing in the corporate space?
You know what? This is my feeling. I think as a lot of corporations start utilizing AI in their processes, they're going to have a whole department of AI governance, okay? And I see that trust and toxicity on top of their list, because each company have, like, just like Salesforce and other companies, they have their values for the company set. They have their what are their, you know, opinions on things. So in order to promote their values, they're going to have to make sure that however they're training their model, they're checking for toxicity data, or toxicity, because they don't want to train model incorrectly, because end of the day you're going to somehow reflect that when you're working with your clients, or if your clients are searching something on your model that you have created. So this is going to be on top of all of the company's list as they start implementing AI to do the processes.
And I'm really excited about finding out we have 47 people according to the list here from the MuleSoft community working with tons of different enterprises, and we've been trying to figure out, where integrate APIs that use AI models fit into the enterprise. And we love making demos if you can tell me you have some ideas. So where do you think it's going to fit into corporations? What are some opportunities to use computers that learn things from experience? Where do you see opportunities in your companies? So please send it our way. You can find us in the MuleSoft community Slack. I'm looking at our time warnings, Shivani. We're getting close. And you can hit me on LinkedIn, and I do answer. I'm a real person. I will accept your request, and many of you have tried that already, right? Or come to my meetup in Oklahoma City, or the Architects meetup, and I want to hear your ideas.
Yes, and if you're in New York, New Jersey area, please come to our in-person meetups. We're trying to revive our New York group, so please. And thank you to Shravan for last week. He was there, and we had a great turnout. So I would love to see you guys there.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming and participating and attending. And we're looking forward to seeing the community awards coming up next.
Thank you.